Hello, everyone, and once again, welcome back to When We Were Kids, a Time Capsule Toys podcast. Toy Hio returns October 12th with Wardlow and some more guests that I'll be announcing hopefully soon. I think there's supposed to be a meeting with someone this week that may or may not do our show. I don't know. We'll find out soon enough. But today I am here with Mark Ryan from the Maryland Toy Expo, and you've probably seen him about 9,000 other shows that he sets up at. I've known Mark for a couple years now, and I've pretty much met him through shows. One of the shows I know Mark from is the show that he co-promotes, which is the Maryland Toy Expo. So can you tell us a little bit about the Maryland Toy Expo?
Yeah, so how's everybody doing, by the way? So it was just an
Hopefully good.
idea. Yeah, I was driving home one day. My buddy Christian, my co-partner, we met. Was selling some toys on Facebook, and he met up with me in a dark alley somewhere behind a Giant, and bought some stuff from me, and then we ended up going to shows together. It was kind of weird, but anyway, so we one day I was driving home in 2018, and I called him. I was like, "Let's do our own toy show," and he was like, "All right, let's do it." So our first one was actually called the Pasadena Toy Expo. It was inside of a small community Christian thing at the bottom of the basement. There was like 60 some tables, and then we moved next year to a sports complex, kind of like what Toy Palooza does, was an indoor one like that, and we did that for a couple years, and we just had our wait list kept growing, so we moved to the Maryland State Fairgrounds. Started with one building that was 44,000 square feet, and then we added the second building last year for the both the shows. So that the second building was 33,000 square feet, and I think we have like over 270 10 by 10 booths between the two buildings. So it's just we've been around since 18, and we do two shows, and then we started doing that smaller show, branched off to the Annapolis one just to kind of test the waters on that. But yeah, that's kind of how it started. Just a couple friends,
When
like your
do,
situation.
yes. When does the Maryland Toy Expo return?
The next one is November 2nd. So we do Saturday shows, and so that'll be November 2nd. And I think probably got like 20 booths left for that show. And we have Facebook page, Maryland Toy Expo, website, Maryland Toy Expo. So it's pretty easy to find.
I suggest if you are a buyer of toys or a vendor to do this show. It's I won't say it's probably. It is in my it's in my like top 3 shows that I do. For one for buying, 2 for selling. I do real good there. I always find really cool stuff. It's that, and it's like the only show on like the eastern coast that I do, because I've done shows in New Jersey and yeah,
They're
no
poo
thanks.
poo.
Yeah, they are
Yeah.
big poo poos. I've talked people out of doing some of them. I think you were sitting in that conversation when I had it. They
I
asked me,
was.
"Should I do this?" I go, "No,
Did he ever do it? We won't name names, but did he do
no,
it?
no." He did not.
Okay, okay.
He, I think he, yeah, I know he didn't, because
Okay.
the second he heard me, he's like, "Oh, I gotta try to get my money back."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yes, you should," because
Yeah,
don't do it.
I think our June show had just under 6,000 people for the one day.
Yeah,
So
June
hope
was pretty busy. We did pretty good, and I know like D&E killed it. Your Toy Connection did real good.
yeah.
Right next, then my buddy Greg, who sits up next to me, he did real good. Then the Ohio Nerd sets up next to Greg, he did real good.
I know where you buy your stuff from there. That one guy always has all that good stuff. Would you get a $10 carded web store or something?
It was $5.
$5.
$5 carded web store. I mean, the card back was cut, but still. I tried to get him to let me go to his house to shop. He said no. He goes,
Oh
no.
no.
I go, why? He goes, I only sell at this show twice a year.
He
I was
does.
like,
It's the only time I've ever seen him.
I'm just like, can you stop bringing all those Simpsons that don't sell? That you have overpriced? Because no one's going to
Yeah.
buy them. They're all smashed and everything else. But he has such awesome stuff. No one shops with him which blows my mind. Last time I pulled up a chair and I sat there waiting for him to get to his booth.
Yes, I do remember that. Well, and you're right. People oversell the Simpson line. I mean, it's a cool line because it's got so many characters, but they are so overpriced, and people just won't come off the price of them.
I know. I don't get it. I mean, there's certain ones that are worth something. And I don't even know how the pricing for them is now, because years ago I was collecting them and I kind of got to the conclusion that I was never going to get them all. And if I did, I'd have literally nowhere to store them. So I got out of it. But I remember there's certain Simpson ones that were worth money. One was like Devil Homer, the Jedediah Springfield like set.
Mm-hmm. I think the Halloween ones, right?
That's what I was gonna say. The Halloween ones. And then
Itchy Scratchy.
Probably Itchy and Scratchy, and then oh god, Stephen Hawking.
Oh yeah,
because they made a figure of him.
Yes,
for some reason. But anyways, before we went live, you showed us some of your collection, which you can see a very small sliver of it behind you. As a kid, did you have a Grail like that? Like as a kid, like was there a toy that you always wanted? Like you wanted, it was like your Grail, but you never got to get it.
I'd say no, but this is funny. I actually have a lot of Star Wars vehicles, so I'll use Star Wars as an example because it's the main part of my collection. My parents did not buy vehicles. They just did not. They bought action figures. I had all these figures, no vehicles for G.I. Joe, Master of the Universe, nothing. So I always seen kids, or I would go to the Toys R Us, and there's these vehicles and the Falcon hanging from the ceiling. I was like, hey, I want one of those. They just didn't get them. So that was it. That was it. I just always, so now I have 3 sand crawlers and 2 battle wagons and 2 box. You saw I got 2 box Tiberius shuttles. It's I just.
So basically, your Grails as a kid were just vehicles.
Yeah.
You wanted anything that your figures could sit in, basically, and they're like, "No, here's a shoebox."
Yeah. Do you know how long it took to walk from Tatooine to Endor? They didn't have any vehicles to fly.
Use a shoebox. That's what my parents would tell me to do. Or get the paper towel roll out of the garbage. Use that. Growing up, there's always these toy lines that stick out in our heads. And they're always like, for me, the ones that always stick out in my head are like the real goofy ones I grew up with. And like, I always have the weirdest memories like attached to them. Like, for example, like, I can't remember if I mentioned this line before or not, but like there was a line called Gross Out Gang, which was only like 6 or 7 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Or my cousin had them, and they had this big pine tree in her backyard. And for some reason, that's the only place that we'd play with them at, was like behind this pine tree where it had like part of a fence. I don't know. But that's like where we would play with Gross Out Gang figures, because that was the only place we could play with them at for whatever reason. But do you have any memorable toys to where when you were growing up, you can remember like exactly where you'd play with it at, like exactly where you got it from and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think so. I have the Gross Out Gang, by the way. I have them all. I just don't have all.
I need the one with the crutch.
Yeah, there's 6 of them, right? I'm pretty sure I have them all. Yeah,
I need the guy with the big nose with the crutch.
I got that.
I can't ever find him, and I know for certain I will never find that crutch.
Probably not. I think so. For me, the odd toys was the dollar store toys, because I actually had an aunt that lived in the city. Well, she was my grandmother's sister, so I just called her aunt. But she owned like a dollar type store in the Baltimore city, and she sold all those Remco figures. So the AEWA, and the
Galaxy Warrior.
Galaxy, yeah. So those were like the odd
Defenders
figures
of the Earth.
Yeah, so we used to get those for where they were back then, $2-3, and she would give those to us. So those were like probably the weird. Everything else I had was, my parents got us the main name stuff, but I always got that odd stuff from dollar stores. And then now they're, how much they are. It's ridiculous.
Oh, it's insanity. I don't get it. Now for those dollar store lines, did you have a favorite? Or were you just like anyone that looks like Masters of the Universe?
No, you know what? Honestly, I'm not a big fan of Masters Universe, the vintage. I like the classics.
Okay.
It's the only toy line that I like newer besides like the Legions, but I'm only two figures away from having an entire classics collection.
Which classics
That's
are you missing?
I need well, one's a horse. I need Swiftwind, and I need the bronze He-Man from the San Diego Comic-Con. And I'll have everything from Maddie Collector, not the Super Set. I don't count Super 7,
Yeah.
just the Maddie collection. I just need those two, have them all. So I was probably man, I don't know. I had the Arco ones too. Was
Oh,
it
the other
Underwear?
world.
The other ones, I love those. I had a ton of those. I think those were probably one of my favorite odd looking toys because the weapons glow in the dark
And
and
they were
all
like
that.
bendy figures.
Yeah, yeah.
You
I
have
thought
the
they were great.
castle. Was it
Now,
Castle
again,
Zendo?
I didn't have castles and stuff. I'm lucky I had a bird for them to fly on.
Some of them came with that weird bird thing.
That's the only reason I got it.
Oh my god. Yeah, because I think it's called Castle Zendo. I
Yeah,
think that's
yeah,
what it's called. And it's like that thing is like a hot piece of garbage.
yeah.
It's literally the chintziest flat like castle. It's literally probably about that long, and like it's like purple, and I want to say the roof is like green and it has like flagpoles sticking out,
Oh man,
but there's
I
like
don't
nothing
know.
to it, and there's like a drawbridge. Like
Well,
you
I
don't
mean,
unfold it, nothing. It's just
other
super
cool toy
crappy.
line it's like sectars, right? I mean, those were
Yeah.
I used to get those were really cool because of the bugs, but their castle's the same thing. It sucks.
Oh,
It's
it's
so
Dunk.
flimsy
It's
and
a 4 foot tall, awful looking piece of. It looks like
yeah,
a green
trash
rock
bag.
wall.
Yeah,
It looks like a green rock wall. May have like it basically looked like they put a sport caster into a garbage bag
yeah,
and then said, "Here we go. Here's the Sectar's hive." And you look
yeah,
at it, you're like, "Okay, it comes with a finger puppet and
yeah.
a hole. That's it.
It's terrible.
It's so big." And people are like, "Oh, I wonder why that line died." Well, I
And
can tell you
people,
why that line died
yeah, and
because your
people
big
pay
play
for
set
that.
is awful.
Yeah.
Um, Also, before we recorded, you like I said, you showed us a chunk of your collection. You have a ridiculous amount of Indiana Jones from Kenner.
Hmm.
Um, I'm gonna ask this: is there a figure from that line? I think I talked about this with Clifton about Indiana Jones figures on the episode I did with him. Is there a figure from the Indiana Jones line that you wish they would have made,
Yes.
or even a play set? Or well, you weren't allowed to have vehicles, so you're not allowed to answer the question.
I didn't even have Indiana Jones as a kid, so
All right, well
I,
then you can
I
have.
had to.
I'll let
Yeah.
you say if there's a vehicle you wanted.
I would have liked for them to have done the airplane from the opening scene with Reggie the Snake in it and Jacques the pilot. I think that would have been awesome.
That's funny.
So
Oh my god. So we talked. Yeah, we did talk about it because we said the whole Boulder scene, and
yeah,
that's like the Temple of Doom. That would have been cool stuff to have. But when you showed us your Indiana Jones stuff, it made me think of a story from one of the previous locations we had for our shop. This guy called and said, like, "Oh, do you buy old toys?" Said yes, of course. He goes, "Oh, I got some stuff. I'm gonna bring it in." And we go, "Okay." He brings it in, and on top is all this NASCAR stuff. I'm like, "Oh God, no, 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 not NASCAR." I take all the NASCAR stuff off the top. Underneath all the NASCAR stuff was a opened, never used Well of Souls. I'm not even exaggerating. I gotta try to find the picture. Um, there was, I think, like 15 Cairo swordsmen on card.
Jeez.
And then what's his name? Is it like Tot or Tote? I forget how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
The guy with the hat that wore the suit, whatever his name is. He had like, I think it was like 8 of those on card underneath all his NASCAR stuff. And I go, I wouldn't be interested in the NASCAR stuff. But I'm like, I'd be interested in the Indiana Jones stuff. And he goes, well, I wanted this much for everything. And I said, okay, well, I'll give you half that for the Indiana Jones stuff. He goes, okay, that's a deal. He's like, I can't believe you're passing on this NASCAR stuff. He goes, I thought this was where the money was at. And I was like, nobody.
NASCAR.
I'm like, sorry, go dump it. And I'm like, we have a dumpster out back you can throw it into. No one wants your NASCAR stuff. But now I'm like, man, I really wish I had that Indiana Jones stuff now. Because back then, those Cairo swordsmen and totes on card were like,
yeah, they were cheap.
$30, $40. And Well of Souls, I think we sold the Well of Souls for like $150.
Ooh.
And now it's all stupidly priced.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
It's 500 plus.
Yeah, there you go. Now my heart just aches a little bit more. So I like last week's episode. We did this whole thing where I thought of like movies that should have had toy lines.
Okay.
And then shocked by the movies that had toy lines. So I was like, I really like that topic. So I was like, we're going to do it again, but I'm going to switch it up this time. But first, we're going to talk about growing up. What like video game systems did you have? Did you have any video games or?
So I had Atari 2600.
Okay.
So that was the first one that I got. And then I remember Christmas morning getting 1986 or 7, whatever it was, I got the Nintendo. And I got the Nintendo. We got the one with the pad, for running, and then we ended up taking it back because the pad sucked. It never worked. So we just took it back.
Much like the Power Glove.
Right. But so those are the 2 games I had. My brother ended up having Sega, the first Sega, because he's 3 years younger than me. Outside of that, that was the only video games I ever had as a kid. I really don't play video games.
Okay.
They look fun, and I always talked about buying video game system and doing it, but then I don't ever do it.
So growing up, Nintendo was like a huge part of my life. I can still remember the Christmas that I got it was probably the best Christmas I ever had, honestly. I got my Nintendo. I got DuckTales. I got Super Mario Bros. 3, which we'll come back to Super Mario Bros. 3 in a few minutes. And those are the 2 games I got with my Nintendo. And I got a yellow beanbag chair. I got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles soundtrack on cassette. I could it was the greatest Christmas ever for me. So I was thinking of what vintage games should have had a toy line but never had a toy line.
If I was to start with Atari, I would have loved to seen like Berserker. Remember that game? That was my favorite Atari game. And then Jungle Hunt would have been pretty cool if they had like a little play set they could have done.
Yeah,
just almost like a board game they could have done. I don't know if they did a board game or not for Jungle Hunt.
I don't even think they did. I don't think there's a lot of stuff out. I don't think they really put out a ton of stuff from Atari for like toys and stuff like that. Like they did, obviously they did E.T.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of what else they even probably did. Like Donkey Kong had those little PVCs.
Yeah. They did do trading cards. I knew that.
Okay.
Because I had some of those because they had Mario stickers. Because one of those stickers is considered Mario's rookie card.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's but yeah, I mean, for Nintendo, let's see. Nintendo, I liked the other than the sports games because I'm a sports guy. I played there was some role-playing games on there, and I just can't remember all of them off the top of my head. Where you were like the wizards and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't remember all their names. It was before Final Fantasy.
Yeah,
Like
because I mean,
Gauntlet.
that
Was
was.
it Gauntlet or something?
I was gonna
Or
say there was Gauntlet. There was like
yeah,
Solstice.
yeah.
I used to
I'd
play
have
the
liked
hell
to
out.
see. I'd
I
have
used to
liked
play
to.
the hell out of Solstice.
I would have liked to see figures for those. I thought that
Um,
Castlevania. If they would have made Castlevania ones back then,
well,
that would have been
that's funny
cool.
because that's number one on my list.
Yeah, I
How
really.
how do you have 3 Castlevanias for Nintendo? You have Super Castlevania for Super Nintendo. You have Dracula X.
Mm-hmm.
You never put out a toy line. How?
I don't know.
Who wouldn't want a Simon Belmont figure? Who wouldn't want Dracula? Who wouldn't want Medusa heads? All that,
Yeah,
the creature, like the Castlevania toy line would have been amazing. You could have had the castle, all that
yes.
stuff. Like it was just the possibilities for a Castlevania toy line would have been endless. And honestly, we probably ended up getting something from like NECA or somebody else way too late in the game. Like, because NECA stuff you can't play with.
No.
But like back in the day, Castlevania toys would have been so awesome. Like I said, that was number one on my list when I thought of this topic. And I'm like, how in the world did they not have Castlevania toys?
I think because they were too focused in on the Mario part of it, like that part that they added in the sports because they did everything sports. Think about it. I mean, you're at the peak of uh, Jordan and there were certain big football players back then. So I think they focused in on that stuff, and then that other stuff was like, here's a cool idea, and it just kind of went to the wayside. People played Dungeons and Dragons, role playing, right? So I actually played. That was one of my favorite things to do. We actually played the board game, or not the board games, but the creating your own characters. I just
Yeah.
think they thought that was not. It was a nerdy topic, so they kind of. I think they stayed away from it, producing
Yeah.
things.
I don't know. I honestly.
I loved it when you could turn into the Castlevania you could turn into like different characters.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great little twist for a game.
That game was so fun, but Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, that last level, oh my God, it was so infuriating.
How many games did you? I mean, I can count on like one or two fingers how many Nintendo games or games period I ever beat. I beat Contra, and that's the only one I can think of off the top of my head. I don't think I beat any other game ever.
I got to the last level of Castlevania. It's so impossible. I can't do it. I wanted to mention this too. I'm glad it popped in my head and you asked that question. I don't believe there's a human being on the planet Earth that has ever beat Friday the 13th.
Oh, not that I know of.
Anyone who says they have, I'm just straight up calling you a liar. Because that game, that game is impossible. All you get is rocks.
It was hard.
It is so ridiculously hard.
It's actually kind of really boring too.
Oh, it's awful. I got it for Christmas one year.
Yeah, you expected a lot more.
Another awful game I got I think it was for my birthday or maybe even Christmas, was Wall Street Kid. Oh, that was awful.
I never had that.
All you did was play the stock market.
Oh, yeah, no. That sounds terrible.
I'm like, no.
And they said heavy
I'm
metal.
sure there's a couple. Oh, there's this one game, Dino Wars, I think it was called. I beat that. That was real easy. Super Mario Bros. 3, obviously. Super Mario Bros. 2, Super Mario Bros. 1. I beat those. But there's a lot of those Nintendo games are so hard.
I think the games are too easy now.
Oh, they are 100%.
Did you beat Punch Out?
Mind if we made them play Nintendo games?
Yeah. Did you beat Punch Out?
No.
Did you? Yeah. Okay.
No.
I got to Mike Tyson. Never beat him.
I could beat like the first 2 or 3 guys, but after that, no. I was not good at that game at all.
That actually would have been a great toy line. If they would have done a toy line that looked like the Gross Out gangs of all the characters from Punch Out because of how goofy they were, that would have been awesome.
Yeah,
solid hard.
Who doesn't need a Glass Joe?
I want one.
They did like these they're called Nintendo trophies. They're not really toys.
Oh yeah,
They're just
yeah,
like
yeah.
things that you'd put on your shelf, but they had like punch out ones of those. But like I said, they weren't toys. They're just
No.
like plastic statues.
You had some of
Um,
the Zelda ones at my show, I think.
yes,
Yeah.
there was like 6 Zelda ones. Which brings me up to the next thing that they should have had a game that they should have had toy line for was Legend of Zelda. Could have had Link, could have had Zelda, all the other little things. You could have had play set. You could have had the role play kit. You got a sword, elf ears, and a hat. Like once again, you have Zelda, you have Link's Awakening. You pump out all these other freaking Zelda and Link games for Super Nintendo. They're still putting them out.
Yep.
I mean, years later they ended up doing figures, but as a kid, you're running around with a cardboard sword that you made out of a box, thinking that you're Link.
I gotta tell you, I'm gonna be honest here, and I'm gonna probably get some haters for this. Like Zelda was kind of like, yeah, it was all right.
There's parts of Zelda that are really good and I like, and then there's parts of Zelda I really did not like. I liked Link's Awakening way better than Zelda, and that's gonna get some blowback because I liked it because it was side scrolling. Like
I
the
never played
original
it.
Zelda was like okay for what it was, but like I just liked Link's Awakening way better.
There's so many games that I'd stopped playing games so early that there's so many games I've never played
Oh,
ever.
there's so many games that I've never played and I've never even heard of. But like another game that you mentioned earlier was that I feel like they should have toy line for. Mind you, the big bad would have been terrible. Like who'd want to own a giant heart? But Contra, like once again, they put out NECA stuff for it. Why didn't you put out Contra figures back then? Like Contra was a huge deal. It was like one of the first like run and gun games, in my opinion, that stood out amongst everything else.
And everyone knows when you start saying up, up, they all know the rest of it.
Yeah, and
There's people
everyone
you
can finish
know.
it.
Yeah.
It's burned into our brains, like more so than when you're a kid. Than like, hey, what's your address?
Yeah.
I don't know. What's the Contra code? Up, up, down, down, left, right, BA start.
Tell me, if you could change your door code to that, would it not be that to get in your house? But everybody would get into it.
Yeah, everyone would be like, "Well, I didn't break in. I knew the code."
Yeah.
The Konami code. But
Well,
once
you
again,
remember,
Contra, they had Contra 1, 2, Contra Force, they had Super C, and I'm sure there was more Contras after that. But like, once again, super popular game. No freaking toys. When you're growing up as a kid, you just run around your yard with a stinking squirt gun with your super soaker going, I'm blue, pew pew.
yeah.
Or I'm red, pew pew. And then your dad's just sitting there in the lawn chair and you're pretending that he's the giant heart and you're spraying him and he's yelling at you.
Oh god, I don't know why Nintendo never ventured into doing that. Like, I'm just wondering, like, what? I guess they were just worried about just buying licenses and making as many games as they could.
That's the thing. They pumped out so much stuff, it wasn't even funny. And like, mind you, back then games were still just as expensive as they are now. That's the one thing
Yeah,
that has never changed.
I agree with you. Yeah, they were $50 back then.
Yeah, they were $50 back then, and you were like mind blown by the graphics. Like, oh
Yeah,
my god, that looks just like Scrooge McDuck.
I remember walking into Toys R Us after Nintendo came out, and one entire, because back then Toys R Us used to do like those 30-foot long aisles, and I remember 2 aisles of toys gone, and it's just Nintendo games all down. After they started mass producing, I'm like, what are all these toys? I mean, everything was just on the wall. It was all down those things. I was like, wow, this is crazy. And that was like the gaming thing took off from there.
It did. And because of last week's episode, my buddy reached out to me and said I made him very nostalgic for Toys R Us and their old ticket system.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes.
He went on eBay trying to find them. $250 a piece.
For a ticket? I remember that you had to pull the ticket out of the little bag and go up, and then they would get the
Yep.
game.
$250 a ticket now. That's what they're selling for.
Oh my
Because
God.
who would have thought they kept those things?
I mean,
That was how you had to get your game because they were afraid that you're probably going to steal it.
yeah. That's crazy. So what about I think the only other game my brother had Sega, and there was a game on there. Was it Chai-Con? He was.
Chaka Khan, yeah, he was like
Yeah, I
like
think that would have been cool.
he had like a Raiden
Ninja.
hat, and he was like a
Yeah,
skeleton
yeah.
with swords. Yeah,
I think that would have been a cool figure.
it could once again would have been a great toy line. There's a lot of stuff from Sega. Looking back on, like growing up, we didn't have Sonic toys.
Nope. I think
Which
the first
mo-
Sonic toys came out early 2000s maybe.
Yeah, I think Jax made them.
Jax. Yep.
And that's the thing, like, how do you not have all these major video games that are hugely popular? You don't have toys for. Like, you're not maximizing your money here, like at all, which is just so strange to me. That all the stuff you could have made for like video games, but you didn't. Which brings me up to my next question of why did they make this a Nintendo game? I went through from my ridiculous vast knowledge of bullshit and go, why did they do these games? Like, who wants to play this? Number one, cliffhanger. What kid's like, hey, mom, dad, you got to bring me to Hills. I need to get cliffhanger for Nintendo. I've never watched cliffhanger. I've never played the game. The movie just seems extremely boring to me. The video game has to be way worse because all I imagine you doing is climbing cliffs.
Yeah, when did that? That was a 90s movie. Yeah.
Like, that might be worse than Over the Top for Stallone. Another one, which I love the movie. I watched it growing up, and of course, everyone has the one image that sticks in their head growing up. I won't say what it is for PC reasons, but everyone will know once I say the name of the movie and ask, why did you turn this into a video game? Total Recall. It's the whole point of you just to give the people air. Yes. What's the point of the game? That's what the whole movie was. He wanted Cohagen to give them air. And like,
that would have been a cool figure though. With what coming out of the stuff.
Yeah. Quado.
Yeah, Quado. That would have been awesome. Him and you could stick your hand in them and like do Quaid.
That would have been sweet. There you go. A missed toy line. Total Recall. You could have had kind of your little play set where you put Schwarzenegger in, and he goes to recall and loses his mind.
That'd have been actually pretty cool.
You have Quado.
The guy with the half shell on his head. What was his name?
Cohagen. Who else was in that movie? Had Sharon Stone.
He had this buddy that had like cricket arms or something. The taxi driver.
Oh yeah, the taxi. Look, see, you had a vehicle that you wouldn't be allowed to own.
Nope.
See, like they had a video game for that. Why? But I mean, you put all these other R-rated properties get toy lines. Why not Total Recall? It's such a bizarre game. This game really baffles me. Why they turned this into a game? Once again, never played it. It definitely shouldn't have. It didn't have a toy line. And if it had a toy line, I would have really questioned everything. Platoon.
Oh yeah.
Like, why? Like,
I
no,
never
it's
understood that
popular.
either.
That's like having That's like having a Platoon Nintendo game was like having a Nintendo game for a fish called Wanda. Like who wants to play that? I want to meet the person who says, I really enjoyed that game. It's good.
They were running out of ideas.
They're probably just like buying up whatever property of popular movies they could and just freaking just pumping out complete and utter bullshit. Which the next game I have listed is based after a very popular movie. This is a sequel, but the movie never had a sequel. Goonies 2.
Oh God.
Like, you can't make a sequel to the movie, so you just put out a real bad video game for Nintendo.
I never played ever. I've never played that game ever.
It's not good. It's definitely not good. I don't even know if they made Goonies 1 for Nintendo. Like, I honestly don't know if they ever did, but they made Goonies 2.
Yeah, no, that doesn't make sense.
Like, they made a ton of other games too that are like obviously from rated R properties, much like they did for they made toys for R-rated movies that we grew up with. Like, they'd had RoboCop had a toy line.
Mm-hmm.
They put out a video game for RoboCop. They put out a video game for the awful RoboCop 2. They put out a terrible video game for RoboCop 3. Which RoboCop 2 and 3 are just flat out terrible.
But you'll watch them if they're on.
I can watch RoboCop 1 all day long. All day long. I love that movie. I'm real glad Kenner put out that toy line. That was like, I have like everything from that toy line except for like the 12-inch prototype. I don't like the box that everyone seems to have but me.
I had one of those.
I want one so bad, but I just don't want to pay the price tag.
I had one I was practically giving it away.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I wish I would have known. Well, yeah, if I'd have known that, I might be able to get you one. Let's see, probably 2-3 years ago.
Oh, God damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the one thing at Chicago Toy Show last year. I actually bought a RoboCop proof card graded. So I'm like, I'm at the point now where I have to start getting the pre-production stuff, I guess. With RoboCop. I love RoboCop.
The RoboCop toys were cool because you could put the poppers in there and all
the
that.
Caps. And they use the caps also for like Cops and Crooks.
Yeah.
Which the Cops and Crooks thing is actually a good segue for me. Which we call that a coincidence. What toy line would you bring back if you could from your childhood?
Is there a toy line that's not out anymore?
No, there's tons, like Cops and Crooks.
You know, I never owned Cops and Crooks, but I am surprised every time I see how much people sell them for. I'm just like, really?
The figures themselves are so weirdly built. That is what, like, it's so weird to me the way they look. I grew up watching the cartoon. I thought the cartoon was great. The toys I could never really get behind because they just look bizarre to me.
I think if I had to pick, so these two toy lines, so I was a little bit older when these came out because my brother got them for his birthdays, and but I ended up with them in the long run because he doesn't collect toys. So, but I think if they did bigger scales of these two toys, I think it'd be really cool. Even though I'm not really a big fan of the one, so I'm not a fan of Mask. But if they did like a 6-inch line of Mask or something,
Mask classified.
Yeah, that would be. I think that'd be pretty. And then Dino Riders.
Yes, I'm
like
a
right,
big,
not
big.
Dino Riders. Yeah, the big dinosaurs.
Yep, Dino Riders.
Dino Riders. Yeah, yeah.
I am so on board with them redoing Dino Riders. It's not even funny. First off, they are crazy expensive
Yes, they are.
for the bigger ones. Crazy expensive. Two, their accessories are so frail to where if you basically try to put them on the dinosaur, they're gonna break.
Yep.
It was also a really good cartoon, which I think it only came out available on VHS. I don't even think it was on TV. I think it was just like a straight to VHS sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't
But the
remember.
cartoon was good. The dude who did the voice of Cobra Commander did a voice for one of the bad guys, like Rasp or Asp or whatever his name is. But I am totally behind you with Dino Riders,
But
1000%.
the figures got to be bigger though. They don't
Yeah,
have to be 6
they were
inch,
like
but they at least got to be.
they were literally like the size of this pen cap.
Yeah. If they went to 3 3/4, I think that'd be really cool.
That would be, oh my God, I'd love it. Yeah, Dino Riders. I like to say it's an underrated toy line, but the problem is it's not underrated because of the pricing.
Yeah.
It's because everyone wants it, but no one can afford it because they're crazy expensive. Like right now in our shop, we have like the Diplodocus, which is not complete, and the T-Rex, which is not complete. But like the Ice Age ones are stupid hard to find. Brontosaurus is stupid hard to find.
Well, I remember my brother getting those. I remember going to Toys R Us. My grandmother took them and bought him Mask and Dino Riders at the same time.
Yeah.
So
Freaking Dino Riders. Oh my God. I want them to bring them back so bad. And when you brought up Mask, it instantly made me think of at the end of, what was it? At the end of that, end of Beast Wars, I think it was. When they go, we want your help or whatever, and they open up the door, and I'm like, this is the perfect opportunity for like Transformers to work with Mask and like open up so more people know about Mask. No, it was G.I. Joe. I'm like, come on. You've ruined G.I. Joe how many times now? Stop. Please give us something else. Like
another
if
toy
they
line.
had a 6-inch Mask line, I'd probably be behind it. Because at one point in time, I started collecting the Kenner Mask stuff. But as I was getting more and more and more of it, I realized like I'm not going to have the space for this stuff.
Yeah.
Because like Boulder Hill is an awesome play set. It was huge. It was a garage. It was a mountain. Boulder that Kenner could have used for Indiana Jones. The vehicles are awesome. The only real gripe I had with Mask is some of the we talked about this before. Some of the transformations were terrible.
And they didn't stick after a while.
Yes. Like
and that
going from a plane to a helicopter was dumb.
Yeah.
And there's other ones that are really cool. Like there was the Bulldog, there was the Slingshot, stuff like that. The split-second stuff left a little bit to be desired. But my main thing was the figures were so small, there was no detail in them.
Yeah, I mean,
like literally, it was like the guys had a mustache and like black hair. No mustache, blonde hair. It's like, oh, this guy's got to be whatever nationality.
It's like the cave guys.
Darker later, and then just plaster whatever color hair they felt they needed to have. Yeah, that was the main thing too, because they were so small, you couldn't have the detail on them.
Nope. Captain Planet would be kind of cool to do something.
If they even if they kept the same size.
Yes, just do something. I would actually prefer the 6-inch versions of stuff. Like I'll have to say, like G.I. Joe Classified. Not all of them, but a good portion of them look really good.
Yes,
they did a really good job with those. But even if they stayed the same, just something, it'd be cool because you'll know they'll spend the money now to do some of the other characters that they didn't do before. I'm trying to think of some more stuff that was. I just can't think of like all these cartoons off the top of my head. What if they did Mr. T with the Olympic Remember he did that? you
Oh my god.
That sounds like something
They gave
Neko
him a
would do.
sprinkler.
Yeah.
Wasn't that good enough for you?
Yeah.
I thought about this line when I was thinking of stuff to ask you about, and I didn't write it down; it just popped back in my head. A line that I'm shocked that you say you wouldn't mind coming back, which has probably escaped your mind, and I don't know how. Dino saucers.
They did. I thought they did redo them.
Did they?
Yeah. I
To a
think they
full
came.
scale though? Or is it
I,
just like so many available sort of thing?
I thought it was it was right before Street Sharks or something when they were redoing the Street Sharks. I thought they did those then too. I could be wrong, but I thought they were re-releasing them.
I don't know about that, but I mean, to be able to actually order them, like, or go to the store and find them, I think Dino Saucers would be cool because Dino Saucers are a toy line that good luck ever seeing them in person. As you're sitting on what, 2 sets of them?
Yes, I'll pick up my second set this weekend in Ohio. The only thing I had to do is find a gun. I'm sorry, can I say that on TV?
Yeah,
Can
you can say gun.
Hey, I got one of them is missing a weapon, so
Yeah.
I
think it
know.
was what, the least expensive one?
I think so. It's one of the short ones, one of the smaller ones.
But
Yeah.
there's so many people our age who love that cartoon and literally did not know that there's a toy line for it because it never got released in the United States. Didn't it just get shipped off to whatever country? Is that what happened?
It was
Like, because they're made
Glasslight,
by
right?
what? Glasslight? Is that who made them?
Yes.
Yeah, and I always heard that like they never got released in the United States, and they just sent them off to Chile or wherever.
That's what I heard too. The same thing. They were going to release them here, but then they didn't. Yeah,
And and then like another thing too is with that line is you could have made their ship. If you re-release it, you can
massive.
you can make their ship. I mean, yeah, it would be huge, but do you have any idea how many people would want to buy it though? Because
I totally buy it.
yeah, because there's that line, like I said, that line is impossible to find. You rarely see them. And when you do see them, they're like $800 to $1,500 a figure with like no weapons. And then to have the ship, I mean, you could put whoever owns Glasslight now, Hasbro, Mattel, whoever, probably some dude named Randy that's sitting in his mom's basement in his Cheeto fort.
Yeah.
Like you could have made like just do a crowdfunding thing, make the ship. Mind you, the ship's gonna be huge because it has to be huge because those figures are like what, 12 inches tall, maybe a little short, maybe 10-inch.
No, they're probably set like around 8, but they're wide. But they're wide
Yeah.
too.
Oh yeah, because they all have big asses.
Yeah, long
big asses
tails.
and tails. And there you go. Make detachable tails so they can sit in the ship.
I mean, basically, that's what you'd have to do.
But it's one of those things. I think they should do it. And
it would be awesome if they did that.
Oh, I think 100%. Another thing I would like to get into it with you about is cards. I know you're a big card guy. Back in our day, they had cards for everything. They had baseball cards, obviously, football, hockey, OMTV, raps, Nintendo cards, Gremlins, you name it. Growing up, did you have like not baseball or any of that stuff? Did you purposely go out of your way to buy any weird type of cards?
I mean, obviously, I had Garbage Pail Kids, so I think that was probably I wouldn't say I went out of my way, but I had a ton of them. So like we always bought them when we were out. I don't remember getting Star Wars cards as a kid, like even the ones from the mid '80s.
Yeah. Growing up, I was big on Desert Storm cards.
Oh my gosh, I remember those.
I don't know why. We'd go to Big Lots, and I could get them for I think it was like $1.99 a box, and I'd open them. I'm like, I'm be so excited, but I'm like looking at them now. I'm like, there's a tank, there's an airplane, there's a sand dune. I'm
But
like,
if you
why
if
am I
you
excited
grade
over this?
if you grade the Norman Schwarzkopfs and the Colin Powells and get 10 gem mints, they're worth money.
I know. We one of our friends and customers got a Saddam Hussein rookie card,
Yes.
got it graded, and he sold it at the National.
Hmm.
Like a vendor actually bought it from him.
Yes. It's insane.
Oh, 100%. And cards now are a huge deal again with sports cards and stuff like that. But back then we had cards for like literally everything. Everything had if it had a movie, it had a card, it had wax packs. Like that movie Baby about the baby dinosaur.
Oh yeah, not the mama.
That had cards.
Yeah.
So the reason why I brought this up was I found a box of cards and I was like, Mark's a big card guy. Every episode I like to do something different. So I'm like, holy crap, we're gonna open a pack of these live here, and we're gonna see what kind of rookie cards we get.
Oh geez.
We're gonna open up Terrorist Attack.
Oh gosh.
I bought a whole box of these, which I'll be selling eventually, but I kind of want to hold on to them for a bit. They're made by the Piedmont Candy Company. They're made in 1986. And we're going to see who in the world we get in this stuff. Mind you, I've seen some of the cards online. And once again, like cards are geared towards kids. So we're going to get 8 educational. I don't know how this is educational. Terrorist attack cards. This is America Fights Back. Let's start at the top.
We were tougher back then. We could buy
I
these.
guess. So our first card is literally it's just that.
That's
It
weird.
tells you all about the set of understanding terrorists is not easy. They do what they do because they are desperate people. It goes on and on and on. That's what it says on the back. Let's see what kind of weird stuff we get. Oh my god, this is so ridiculous.
I'm hoping for the Munich people.
Looking for publicity. It's a guy wearing like a pillowcase on his head with a gun to the guy's head while another guy is in the plane.
Oh, that's from that's a 1977 hijacking on they were on the tarmac and I think it was a foreign country, right? Not Albania.
You're close.
Yeah,
The hijacking of
Syria,
TWA Flight
right?
47.
Yep.
The hijackers sought the release of 700 Lebanese held by Israel.
Yes. They did the movie. That was kind of like, remember the premise of the Chuck Norris movie was on that. When he went on, they were hijacked.
Sure.
It was a Chuck Norris movie with hijacked plane. I think I can't remember. Yeah.
Is there any fate worse than being married to a terrorist? That's the last line on that card. These are so bizarre. Mad Dog Khadifi.
Mad Dog Khadifi. I don't know. Is the corners good on it? Put it in a hard case.
I don't have any here. Yeah, it doesn't give too many details on that one. Oh, what? The Pope was shot.
Well, you talking about 1980, John Paul II?
May 13th, 1981.
Yep.
Pope John Paul II.
That's why that's the Pope movie came after that. The Pope he always drove in an open vehicle, and then that's why all the popes drove inside inside those bubble thing now.
Why aren't you on Jeopardy? Yasser Arafat. Is that his rookie card?
Hey, I shop at the same suit shop as him. So did what's his name in remember he said that in Die Hard? Him and
Oh
Yasser
God,
Arafat
yeah.
coming in. Hans.
Suicide driver.
That's just a random guy.
Suicide car bombs have come into favor with terrorists in recent years. And it goes on and on and on, but we have 2 left. We'll do this. What the heck? This one's doesn't even have a name on it. It's just some shirtless dudes running from a tower that's exploding with a plane that's dropping bombs. This is so bizarre.
Plane drop. I have no idea what that would have been from.
Our last one is demands are ignored.
What is it a picture of? I can't see it.
2 dudes with pillowcases on their heads, holding a note, talking into a like a trucker, whatever the heck you call it, trucker intercom.
Okay. Wow.
Unfortunately, some countries have given in to terrorist demands, failing to realize that successful terrorist operation will breed more of this type of activity.
Facts.
Like literally, the back of every card has like 2 paragraphs.
That's what they. Hey, I mean, those cards are. I mean, somewhat. That's still true. They're terrorists are here to inflict mass casualties, scare people, and to stop things. You know, just.
Oh yeah, 100%. And it's crazy that these are from 1987, and this bullshit is still happening.
Yes.
And the fact that a lot of us now like steer our kids away from this stuff. But back then, we put it in packs.
Hell, we would have watched that stuff on TV, and while we were in school, they'd have had the plane. Okay, here, kids, here's the plane on the tarp. Somebody gets shot, falls out of the plane.
Yeah, and they go, all right, write a paper about it.
That's that their plane is that famous one where they shot the pilot. I think it was a pilot, and they threw his body out of the plane. I don't know if you've ever seen that footage. That's what that first or second card was from.
That's just crazy.
Yeah, that was like live on TV when that happened.
That's
they
nuts.
just yeah.
Like once again, these are the things that when we were kids, they put card packs out for. Like we had terrorist attack, we have dinosaurs attack.
Yep.
And
Desert Storm cards.
Desert Storm cards. It's like, honey, you can pick out 1 pack of cards. Mommy, I want the terrorist cards. Times have changed. I miss being a kid. This makes me wonder a lot about our childhood and this stuff that they try to pawn off onto us.
Well, I mean, look, Garbage Pail Kids. They literally made cards for us to make fun of people with, to give us nicknames.
Yeah,
because everyone knew somebody that picked their nose, and it happened to be the same name, right? So
yeah, and you go to school and there'd be a kid named Mike that had snot running out of his nose. You'd be like, "Hey, mucus, Mike."
Yeah, right. They gave us ammo to make fun of people.
Yeah. And now, like, shockingly enough, they're still making Garbage Pail Kids cards, which is
the chrome ones. Yeah,
which is kind of shocking to me, considering now we're a very big anti-bully thing. Like, we don't want to bully other kids, stuff like that. But you're gonna keep putting out cards that make fun of kids.
Well, I think they target the adult collector, so they don't worry.
Oh yeah, but I'm sure there's some kids that are some little snot-nosed kids are like, oh, now I could call that kid with the 1 eyebrow in school,
but
unibrow, whatever.
Yeah, but on your topic though, like those cards you're talking about, like from the TV shows, the movies, the Garbage Pail Kids, if they're high grades, like 9s and 10s, the prices are ridiculous. I mean, like what's it, Nasty Nick? He's like probably one of the most expensive cards outside of Atom Bomb. I mean, Series 14 and 15 of Garbage Pail Kids are very scarce, and
Yeah.
people are always looking for them. But those cards, you get that in a 10, you're talking that's a few $1,000 card.
Yeah, because Nasty Nick also had another name, right?
Yeah, they all had two.
Okay.
I don't remember Nasty Nick's
I don't
alternate.
remember either.
Yeah,
Something probably dumb like Vampire Vinny or something.
something. Yeah, but yeah, I mean those card, those the comic non-sports cards, what they call them. The prices are crazy.
Oh yeah, it's just weird. Everything always comes back. Fashion comes back. Cards come back. Toys come back. Like I say, it's like every episode. Toy aisles is just trying to scrape money out of our pockets by selling us on nostalgia. You go down the toy aisles now. There's Masters of the Universe, Turtles,
Hmm.
Transformers, Jurassic Park, all the stuff that was popular back when we were kids. Because the stuff that's popular now for kids doesn't ever stick around and don't last. Like unless it's like kid stuff like Paw Patrol and stuff like that. Because like a lot of the stuff that they put out toys for is just fads. When we were kids, it wasn't a fad; it was a lifestyle.
Right, it was all about that. But see, but that's what's the importance of having like shops like you and others, because like I can tell you when I go on family vacations or just traveling for work, the first thing I do is Google if there's a toy shop or something around where I'm going. Like I want to walk down the aisles. It's all about walking down the aisles.
Yep, I agree. Because
You know,
my whole thing too is I do the same thing you do. Whenever I'm out on vacation or whatever, I'm trying to find shops because I'm trying to find stuff for me. Two, I'm trying to find stuff for shows or shop, all that type of stuff. Um, so with it being said about shopping around shows and stuff like that, what are some shows that we can see you at coming up for the rest of the year?
so I will be actually this weekend. I'm traveling to CTS, the Columbus show. So I'll be set up there. And then I have some like I won't mention the sports card shows. I'll be at Retro Con, which is in PA, Oaks, PA. So I'll be there.
They actually
It's
just
not.
visited our shop
Did
a
they?
month ago.
Okay. And then what else we got? So I got that show. Trying to think of where else I'm setting up at.
September.
October, I'll be at yours in October. Toy
Yep,
High, that one.
Ohio.
And I'm thinking so. I'm up in the air because I'm supposed to leave for Disney on September 26th, and I get back 2 days before Xenia, so I may be driving to Xenia, but I have to be back for a charity golf tournament because I'm in a men's or group that we do charity stuff for people. So we have our annual golf tournament on Saturday. So that Xenia is a great show. I had fun there. I wish I could set up. I'm trying to think what else. I know there's some other stuff got going. I mean, my show's in November, but I don't really remember. But that's where I'll be the next few shows.
Okay, and yeah, and
Oh,
your show, like you said, returns in November
November
2nd.
2nd. November
Okay.
2nd. Yep.
So you can see him at Toy Ohio on October 12th. If you walk into the main doors, turn right, go all the way down to that back corner, you'll see Mark. And one day I'll finally get that freaking new floor layout because they have not even sent it to me yet.
You just make
Because I
your
think
own.
the girl that replaced the other two girls, something's going on there, I guess. I don't know. I'll get it one of these days.
I, I
Hopefully I
like
get it
that
before
venue.
freaking October.
Yeah, that would be. I like that venue too.
I do too. I tell everyone, like describe your show. I go, we have carpeting and chandeliers
It's exactly.
and barbecue.
Lighting, it's funny you say that. Lighting is such an issue at so many shows. Lighting
Yeah.
is terrible.
There is a certain show I did. The lighting was so bad, people had used their phone flashlights.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, how is the lighting this bad? And that show was a one and done for that
Mm.
location. I mean, the location was beautiful. The lighting was so bad. It was like being in a dark basement.
I mean,
Lighting, and location. That's what people
yeah.
need to know.
I tell you,
Lighting and
look,
location.
I'll say, yeah, number one for me is location, because I think there's a lot of shows out there. I know we don't have much time left. There's a lot of shows out there that have really good potential, but they're in, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but they're in poor areas.
Yeah.
Like the financial, so you have to bring people in from away to make the show where it'll spend money. And I just think there's a lot of shows with potential that are not in the right areas, and they're in those areas because maybe the promoter can't afford to spend the money. But like, you just have to kind of put yourself out there and put your money where your mouth is, and you might. I mean, I think we might be just starting to make a little bit of money. If it's not much, there's not much money
Oh,
in shows.
oh no. People think the toys business, just because you open it, start it, whatever,
Yeah,
you're gonna be rich. No.
I buy toys because
I was up till like, I don't know, 10:30 at the shop last night selling freaking Barbies.
Barbies are good though, man. They sell.
But like, that's the thing, like, you have to be willing to hustle. If you don't hustle, you're not going to make it anywhere. And if you don't deal with toys and try to start a show and stuff like that, your foot's not into that. You're not getting your right foot forward, I should say, because you're not helping out the community and getting your name out there with the people and stuff like that. Because like I started out doing shows, and Tom came to me about doing Toy Ohio, stuff like that. So we got the ball rolling, stuff like that. And same with you. You did shows.
Mm-hmm.
People learned who you were. Your shows in a crazy wealthy area. The money I've seen people drop at your shows, I just like, the guy, like, one guy walked up to D&E's booth at your show and goes, "I'll take them." And Marshall's just like, "I didn't even tell you the price." He goes, "Well, that's why I came here."
He saw him on the video. He saw him on my video.
And he goes, "I just came because I needed them." I didn't care what the price was. I need them. And Marshall's like, "Okay." I'm like, That's like the type of show, like your show. That's what the type of people that it brings in. And that's why I say it's like one of my top 3 shows that I do. Is because from me realizing with your show is it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of like vintage around. The first time I did your show, I did okay. But I went back and looked at what I sold. I sold mainly vintage. I sold like one modern thing. So now I do your show. I bring 90% of my stuff has to be vintage.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what I'm going to sell. And each show is different.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, everything's a trial and error. And you get your foot going and start off a slow pace to get to running. Like, it's going to take you money. 2, it's going to take you time. 3, it's going to take pretty much like who you've learned to know in the actual business. Because there's some people out there that, like I said, they just open the doors and they expect it to happen. And it don't. And you have to take it on the chin a lot. Because there's going to be some points in times you don't make a dime.
Well, I'll tell you right now. Do you know much? We had the Gladiators. Were you there for the Gladiator show?
Yes,
American
I
Gladiators.
was.
Do you know how much? I'll say this publicly. Do you know how much money we lost on them?
I have no clue, and I'm afraid to know. But you're going to tell me.
I'm going to tell you. $12,000.
Oh my God.
Between their guarantees, they barely made any money. We had to pay them out $12,000.
Well, I can tell you that I heard through the grapevine that someone else brought in a gladiator to a show in southern-ish Ohio, and I heard through the grapevine that he lost his ass with the gladiator he brought in. And I was contacted by the gladiators people, and I waited. Your show happened. I heard the rumblings, and I just never responded because I'm like, I don't feel like losing anything.
They were nice people. It's just, it just didn't do it for people.
Yeah,
You know what I
that's the
mean?
thing too, is not every show has to find its own footsteps. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Some shows are still find them. Some shows don't need them, like need guests, stuff like that. I do my guests because of Tom. Tom wanted it. I put him in Tom's spot. It's for Tom.
But wrestling kills it there.
I've only been screwed over once. I'm still waiting on that refund for the flight and hotel. Mr. Rampage commentator.
I mean,
But that's that.
I mean, wrestling people do well. I mean,
They do.
I think they do. I mean, we're gonna actually take a break from doing when we were only doing this celebrity, if you want to call them celebrities and stuff. You know, we were doing because people asked, "Hey, you gonna have signers?" We're like, "All right, we'll add a little twist." But like after a couple shows of like losing money, we were like, "All right, let's take a break from it, reassess." Because like you said, even if you have a really good show, there's always something that doesn't work, and they don't know that. I'm
Yep.
okay to publicly talk about it because if it helps another promoter, then good.
I
I
have a
want it to
lot of
help. So I
promoters who reach out to me and ask me my advice. Like, I'm a nobody. Like, that's the way I look at it. I go, I'm a nobody. I'm just a fly on the wall. And I just scrape by to try to get whatever I can, do whatever I can. If it works, it works. If it don't, then it's back to the drawing board sort of thing.
yeah, but you got to think. I do 30 plus shows a year. And I'm not saying this because you told me, because I told you this a long time ago. Tohio is in my top three, probably even my top two. So, and it's because of the way it's ran, like being the way it's ran, what is there, and then the interactions with the people. So you think about, I do that many shows, and then you go out further, and I'm going out as far as Chicago, like you do. So I'm covering this whole big area of shows, and they aren't that good. I go to them, I support people, and I go to them, but they aren't really, not all of them are good.
Yeah. Oh, I trust me. I know. There's my whole thing too is there's just so many popping up, and there's so many that are popping up, and there's been a lot that have been around longer than like Ohio or longer than Maryland, longer than some of the actual gaming shows that happen in Ohio too. And I hear complaints about them. And they go, I don't understand how this so and so can still be doing this show. He's been doing it for 20 years and he doesn't get anyone through the door. I'm like, well, I hear enough stuff from about this person where I know, like, if you don't have in our area, if you don't have like All American Cards and Comics there, you're probably doing something wrong. Because Greg is like one of the biggest supporters of everybody, one of the nicest dudes. He was like my first person I asked to come on and do the show, and he blew me off. Well, he blew me off because he had actual stuff to do, but I just have to give him a hard time, and I know he likes to hear his name. But like he's like the nicest person, and so like basically, if you can't get him to do your show, there's something going on.
You have a card shop near you called that?
All American Cards and Comics. They mainly deal with comics, but they do Magic, Pokemon, stuff like that. Around the corner of my house, I actually have. I'll give them a shout out too because they're super nice people. Nile Sports Cards.
How far is that from Tohio?
Maybe 10 minutes.
How come I can't find it when I freaking Google that?
Message me.
All right.
I'll give you a list. There's so much stuff around us now. It's like not even funny. When we Time Capsule Toys first started, there was like nothing. Like and now there's stuff like popping up all over. Like
I need
Greg's shop's been in Warren for. I started buying comics from Greg when I was in like elementary school.
Huh.
And I'm 42.
Dang,
but yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of I'm old. Still is gray.
Yeah.
But there's a ton of stuff in this area, and it makes me happy that there's so much more stuff popping up in this area because it gives people more options, and we're becoming more of a pop culture centralized area. So Greg has 2 locations for his shop. There's Now's sports cards. There is right across the street from Now Sports Cards is Nowhere Toys, which he also deals in cards. And then he actually opened up an auction house that's 10 minutes away from his shop.
Yeah, you're gonna have to give me a list when I come.
And probably about 15, 20 minutes away from Toyhio is Boardman Sports Cards. I know there's probably more. I know there was one that opened up 2 seconds away from our shop, but they recently just closed. And we had one time we had this one dude who showed up at a shop. And he goes, I'm just here to check out the competition. And we're like, what do you sell? He goes, Funkos and sports cards. I'm like, well, we don't sell Funkos and we don't sell sports cards, so I don't think we're much of a competition for you.
I mean, we have those at the shows, though. We have the people that pay you the admission to get in your shows. They don't buy anything. They just want to pass out their flyers to their show.
that.
You know what I'm talking about, too. The people.
Yeah, and I throw them away. I'll leave it on this. I will give everyone a tip of what not to do when promoting your own show. Don't pay admission to walk around and pass people out your flyer. Because that is the lowest form of advertisement ever. I don't like it. I want we have a flyer table up front. So when you walk in, you can grab a flyer if you want. I don't like people walking up to me while I'm trying to work a table, trying to sell stuff, all that stuff, and try to pitch their show to me that's in the middle of a field that is in a state that has $9,000 shows that I'm like, no. At your show, there's 2 people who do it to me. And I just look at this and go, this is the week of Christmas. Why am I going to do this? I throw it away. And I'm like, but that's a thing that, oh my God, I should just do an episode of all the yeses and nos of running a show and what to do. So if you run a show and you walk around passing out your flyers at the person's at another show, stop. We don't like it.
That's why there's a flyer table.
That's why there's a flyer table. We don't want to be bothered with hearing your whole spiel about how you have 40 spaces open, but you only draw 80 people. It drives me bananas. Bananas. It just, oh my God. It's one of my biggest show pet peeves. There's a flyer table. Put them there. If you walk around, just talk to vendors. Don't give them your sales pitch. Just let them get to know you. It takes time. You got to build those relationships.
That's why they're doing their toy shows helped us.
Yeah.
I mean, I 100%.
We help each other out, and that's what we're here for. We're a community. Mind you, there's some black sheep in this community that we don't deal with. I won't mention names or any of that stuff because they're all over. But we're community. We want to work together. We don't want to work against each other. But some people just put the target on their backs, and that's just how it is. And it's unfortunate that it's like that, but it is what it is. I'm friends with so many. I have more show promoter friends than I have show promoter enemies.
I agree with that.
Because you're not going to get anywhere without the help of the other promoters. Because the other promoters will help post about your show when it's coming up. Because most of the time, those promoters will set up at your show.
Oh, speaking of that, that's probably one of the hardest things, I think, outside of the amount of money we spend on advertising, doing the billboards and all that different stuff, Facebook, radio, is just getting other people to make a post on Facebook.
I will
It's
never understand that ever.
like what you're selling at the show. Just make a post for me.
Like, honestly, we're going to do an episode of this where it's me, you, probably Rob, Ken, Greg, who's the other co-promoter for Butler. I'll try to think of whoever else I can think of. Maybe get Bobby on here from
Bobby.
Palooza.
Yeah.
Of just the things you should do as a vendor.
Yeah.
That's a show. Promote you're going to be there.
It
yell
takes
as
2 seconds.
Because it infuriates me.
Yeah, it takes 2 seconds to let people know you're
share
going to be
something.
somewhere.
Post a picture. Say, hey, are you looking for a scratch? I'm going to have one at this show. I'll never understand it. It's like they don't want business. I don't get it. I'll post about whatever show I'm going to be at and whatever I'm bringing. I'll post pictures even after the show saying, hey, I was here at this show and I sold so-and-so this.
Mm-hmm. Or what you picked up.
Yeah, or even what I picked up. And just say like, hey, that's why you have to come to this show. Yep. It's crazy to me that people just don't want to. It's like they don't want to promote themselves. Like I don't get it. It's mind boggling to me. Me and Bobby actually had that conversation before.
I think it's I think it's the opposite. I think they don't want to. They just don't want to help you. I think that's or not you, but the promoter. That's the way I always look at it. Yeah, you know what I mean.
I don't get it.
Yeah,
it's like it takes 2 seconds instead of you posting your political opinion on Facebook.
Oh my God! Don't even go down that route.
Just share anyone who's listening. I'm gonna end it with this. Number 1, Toy Hilo returns October 12th. The Maryland Toy Expo, which I suggest you should probably either go shop at or set up at, returns November 2nd. Please, after you're done listening to this, go see what toy shows you're going to. Which ones you have marked interested in, going, maybe, whatever. Share it.
Yes.
I don't care what show it is. Share it. Because I'd much rather see my screen flooded with shares of toy shows, card shows. Hell, you can even do craft shows. I don't care. I don't want to see your political opinion because I don't care. Agreed. I want to talk about toys, nostalgia, and funny stuff. With that being said, Mark, thank you for coming out, tuning in to previous episodes, promoting your show, having the awkward talk with me about terrorist attack cards. Thank you guys for tuning in, checking us out. Make sure to check out everything else on the Youngstown Studios YouTube page. Go back and watch our clips, full episodes, all that fun stuff. And we'll probably see you at a toy show.
See you, Rick.